billionaire investors with private yachts, swanky developers and city execs, all discussing the buying and selling of prime real estate. Everyday business in camp, where the MIPIM property fair has been held for the last 25 years. But today it's come to London, where it's become the target of angry protests by local residents, furious that luxury flats are being built at the expense of affordable homes. Simeon Brown went to meet some of the protesters outside and the traders inside.
The fight for housing was again visible on London streets. These videos were taken by protesters rallying against MIPIM, the property fair that brings councils together with millionaire developers and billionaire investors, who at present sense a growing opportunity. With house building at a 7-year high, sites across England like this one have been allocated for demolition and regeneration. But at what price? And more importantly, who pays it?
I'm in the London Borough of Barnet. In this very borough, Margaret Thatcher became an MP, the author of Right to Buy. So if the British dream of home ownership began anywhere, it is right here. But for one woman, that dream is becoming a nightmare.
Since the council, which is run by the contractor Capita, agreed to make the land available to housing giant Barratt's, the residents have been issued with eviction notices. Leaseholders claim they have been offered half the market value of their property. Yasmin Parsons brought her house under the Right to Buy initiative in the 1980s.
They're evicting the people who's lived here for 20, 30, 40 years. 3 times generations they're being evicted from their homes to make way for people who are using these as investments. And this is Alex.
Nice to meet you. Yasmin introduced me to Alex, a resident on an insecure tenancy. He has not been offered a place to live on the new developments and is worried about his future.
You don't have any sleep at night, and during the day, they're building all day long. I'm not getting any younger, and I started off being homeless, and I'm wondering after about 10 or so years, am I going to go back to being homeless through no fault of my own?
All 3 of us are off to MIPIM, Alex and Yasmin to protest, myself to mingle the international investors. As I was making my way in, Boris Johnson was making his way out, following scrutiny that foreign investors have been given priority on properties promised to UK buyers.
How do you prevent foreign investors and foreign buyers being given first preference on properties in London?
Well, as you know, most developers have signed a concordat to agree that won't happen.
That's been broken.
It's been broken in the case of Galliards, and I think that is absolutely reprehensible, and they're wrong. We have in London a massive inflation in property values caused by the sheer popularity of London. I could take you to streets in the north of the country where you can buy a row of homes for £5.
Back inside the hall, other UK cities are competing for private investment.
It's really about trying to attract housing and property developers to begin to build. It's that market gap that they are seeking to try and close. That's the challenge.
So where are these investors? Lee and Edwin are from Hong Kong.
You know, when I first got here, everybody told me that London property is very hot, the price has gone through the roof, it's crazy, but compared to Hong Kong retail property, it's really nothing.
In the distance of the fair, I spotted Yasmin and Alex's council, well, the private company owned by their council to deliver housing. I asked him about the perceived lack of accountability of a council run by companies.
I'm sure there is a lot of anger with the protests outside. I didn't listen to a lot of it this morning. I was trying to get into the conference. I didn't speak to any personally. But yes, there are issues with housing in London throughout the country.
And do you think that they're being best heard and best answered in Barnet?
I can't answer the question. I don't know. As I say, I'm not part of Barnet Council.
The councils say they have successfully rehoused all non-secure tenants and insist they are offering market value plus 10%. Outside, both Alex and Yasmin have now gone, but whilst the shortage of housing exists, and investors see properties in London and the south of England as as safe as houses, the protests against developers are likely to continue.
Now, the Education Secretary